everyone, it's Jessica, founder of Golden Triangle Yoga and creator of Yogini Mama, where we help people just like you manage everyday stress, create healthy habits, and live empowered lives. And the subject of today's video is stress mastery. Now, you might be wondering, mastery, why mastery and not stress management? Because it turns out there's actually a subtle difference. So in this video today, I'm going to be giving some tips and some questions and some reflection points that you can start to incorporate into your moments of stress. All right, so let's get started right away with the idea of what is stress? Where does it come from? And when we hear that word, what really is going on? Because it's a word we hear a lot, right? I'm so stressed. What's happening in the moments of stress, first of all, is that you or me, or whoever is experiencing the stress, we're in a state of resistance. And we're in a state of resistance to the isness of whatever is unfolding, the present moment, okay? And so we're in this space of whatever's happening, we don't like it, and so we kind of come into this shut down fight or flight mode. And that's what causes the feeling of overwhelm, stress, anxiety, whatever label you want to give it. But when we talk about stress mastery, mastering stress, there's a big difference in stress mastery and stress management. And what it really has to do with is one is more reactive and one is more proactive. Say, for example, you wanted to master an instrument. You wanted to learn to become a concert pianist or a really, skilled musician of some kind. Well, you wouldn't wait until the concert or until the gig to get up and hold your instrument, because that would be very stressful. You would say, I don't know how to play this instrument. I don't know what to do. Of course not. You would practice, right? You would be preemptive and sitting down some time every day and going through the scales and going through the piece of music and maybe practicing with your teacher or your band. And you would practice your craft. Same way with sports, right? If you want to master, say, basketball, you're not going to wait until the big game to shoot your first three-pointer or practice your first layup or learn how to dribble, right? You're going to do that stuff ahead of time. And so when we talk about mastering stress, it's very much the same way. And it has to do with what you do ahead of time so that when the moment comes, you can feel prepared, right? So, couple of things, just to give a framework of what is really happening. We know you're in that state of resistance. And when you feel stressed or when you feel overwhelmed, you basically have two options. And the first one is that you can change your circumstances, right? You can seek to control and manipulate and adjust and shift the things that are going on around you that you think are the source of your discomfort. Or our second option is that we can shift internally. And so it really is one of the two, to be able to kind of manage and navigate those stressful moments. Well, how do you know which one is which? Well, this is where the preemptive part comes in. This is where the practice part comes in. Because look, if you're watching this video, I don't have to tell you, already you're starting to see or get a sense that life is more than simply kind of moving from distraction to entertainment to pleasure to the next thing, the next kind of buzz that you get. And you sort of already get that there is a deeper underpinning and sort of a deeper purpose to the reason why you are here. And so from that perspective, what you start to do is you start to view these stressful moments as an opportunity to grow, an opportunity for self-reflection. And this is a very yogic teaching, by the way. Anytime you're in a state of suffering or you're in a state of not liking what's happening to you, you don't shut down and go into victim mentality, right? And say, woe is me, poor me. You say, no. Wow, thank you for this opportunity to now self-reflect and see what's going on. Okay, so now how do you know? How do you know in the moment of overwhelm, in the moment of stress, if it's something that needs to be shifted externally or if it's something that needs to come from the inside, if there's an attitude adjustment that you need to do? And a few questions that have really helped me in those moments are the following. Number one, you ask yourself, will this matter in 1 year? And you'd be surprised Most of the time, a high percentage of the time, the answer is no. It will not matter in 1 year. As a matter of fact, it probably won't even matter in 1 day or 1 week or 1 hour, right? But that's what stress has the effect of doing to us, is that when we're feeling the resistance, we get very tunnel vision and we start to think that this is the thing that's happening to me and something is wrong right now and it will always be wrong. But if you can have just that little moment to create that little bit of space and pull back and ask, will this matter in 1 year? And if the answer is no, that's a pretty clear sign that the shift that's needed in that moment needs to come from the inside. So what does that look like practically, like in a real-time, real-world example? Well, let's pretend you're in traffic, right? That happens to me a lot. I drive the highway all the time. And it's very often that I get stuck in traffic. And that's not fun for anybody. And it's a huge source of stress for a lot of people. Right? And so as you're there and you're maybe running late to the thing you need to get to, running late to the appointment, maybe the kids are in the back fighting or crying or whatever, maybe you have to pee, you're on the highway and you're stuck and it starts to feel you're resisting the moment, right? You're resisting the isness of that moment. And what you do is you ask, will this matter in 1 year? And of course it won't, because you don't remember now, a year ago, the time you were in traffic, right? You don't go around talking about that. It's not a huge deal anymore. But so if the answer is no, then the shift comes from within. And that's when you take a deep breath and soften and just trust that everything will work out okay. And so that's just a real-time example, but do practice that one because that creates a lot of clarity and that automatically will shift your perspective from being in the throes of the overwhelm to being able to see it from a little more like the 10,000-foot view. All right, so the second thing or the second question that you can ask yourself, this is a really good one, is this my jurisdiction? Really a good question to ask. Because see, when we're finding ourselves in those moments of resistance and not liking what's happening or not liking the way other people are behaving or the way things are going, oftentimes we take it upon ourselves to go, impose our agenda or our will or our idea of how things need to be on the people around us. And, if you've been doing this long enough, you've been in a human body and you've been in a relationship with people, does that ever really work out that well? Not really. Right? I mean, even as moms, right? Sometimes we try to go and impose ourselves onto our children and make them do the thing that, is, mom voice. And not that there aren't times for that, of course, but in general, you have to ask that question when you do, is this up to me? Is this my jurisdiction? And see, that need to fix and that need to control and change and manipulate the circumstances, it really comes from a good place. Because if you're a mother like me, and by the way, if you're a mother of a human, wonderful, but whether you have a human child, you're still a mother of something. You're a mother of a project. You're a mother of your staff. You're a mother of your pets. You're a mother of your spouse. You're a mother of your parents and your siblings. We all have that nurturing kind of tending to energy. And it's very good. We need it. It's needed in the world. But when it becomes a stumbling block and when it becomes more of a weakness and a strength is when we do this thing where we try and impose what we think is needed on everybody else around us. And so sometimes it's up to you. Sometimes it's not. So that's the second question. Is it my jurisdiction? And then finally, the last question that hopefully can create some clarity for you in times of stress and overwhelm is there anything for me to do right now? Or maybe a better way to put it is, what is the most important thing right now? Because again, stressful moments have a way of sucking our energy in and kind of pulling us into this tunnel vision where we think it's this way now and it will be forever. And so not only are we resisting the moment, but now we start to project the stress and anxiety we feel now into the future. And so taking that pause, right? The first question before this was, is it up to me? Right? If it's not, then the shift is needed internally, right? But if it is, then the next question is, what's the most important thing for me to do right now? And again, a practical example of that for me shows up. I do these questions, by the way, good yogi. I do this self-reflection a lot. So if I get to this third question and it's like, okay, the most important thing, sometimes it's really interesting. I go, well, I haven't had any water in several hours. Or wow, you know, I'm feeling kind of hungry. It might be time to eat something. My blood sugar's a little low. I haven't really been taking care of myself today. I've been running around. Or, you know, I'm a little tired. I think I'm gonna go lie down for 20 minutes and just turn it off. Or I'm gonna go sit in my car for 10 minutes and close my eyes and meditate and just listen to my breathing, right? And so those little pauses, that last question is really important, because what happens is if you have that mothering energy and you're always going outward with it, controlling and trying to, you know, change the environment, oftentimes what gets lost is that last piece, that last question where we go, well, let me turn some of that nurturing energy inward to myself. What do I need in this moment? And so that clarity that comes from what is the most important thing right now, it will save you every time. And by the way, if you ask that question and you get into like, well, if I do this, then that, then I do that, then this, then I did blah, 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 you're done. You're lost again. You're back in the turbidity, all right? So take a few deep breaths and then just trust whatever it is, because the answer usually is very simple. See, we try to complicate it. We make it complicated, and then the stress starts to feel even more stressful because we're adding our own complication to it. But if you don't feel rested and you don't feel full, you haven't nourished your body in any way, of course you're going to feel overwhelmed. Of course you're going to feel like, man, what's happening? Everything's bad, blah, life's terrible. And so if you will just take a moment and turn it inward, boy, you'd be amazed how it shifts the whole perspective. So I know this is a big topic, stress. I'm probably going to do another video, maybe part 2, and come up with some other more practical tips for you guys. But hopefully this is at least enough to give you some food for thought and give you some tools to have in the moment and to be preemptive so that you can master stress. And if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And come back next week. I'll share more tips about stress. This is Jessica with Yogini Mama. Namaste.